And just tell me before we start, I love that story that you tell us about the way that sports sciences came into football. And you said that when you first started in your career, you used to look forward to going to away games because London would mean a shopping day out as opposed to preparation for games.
Well, we were talking about it, and every Friday, if you play away from home, then you get a coach trip, stay in a hotel overnight. And for me at the time, in 1992 it was, 93, that meant going on a Friday to the shop, filling your bag with crisps, chocolate, sweets for the trip down to London on the coach. You'd stuff your face, get off at the coach, go into the hotel, have your evening meal, which was normally steak and chips, which is unheard of now. And then we'd go out on a Friday night to the cinema, and we'd watch a film, then we'd come back to the hotel, get up early on a Saturday morning, especially if it was London, and we'd go on a shopping trip. So we'd go out around London shopping before the game. Now we'd get back to the hotel at sort of 12 o'clock, have a pre-match meal, get to the ground, and before you know it, we're out on the pitch, and we hadn't had any rest whatsoever. We'd just been out gallivanting, doing bits and bobs, pictures and shopping. And we used to do it in all the big cities that we went to. Now if you'd done that today, that's 2 weeks fine. You know, it'd be frowned upon so much because you need rest, and before big games, especially nowadays with the pace of the game, you need rest and you need lots of it. And for us, away games, that meant we weren't getting any rest at all. We probably got more rest than a home game, but that's how much it's changed football.
Second thing you might not be aware of is something called proprioception, which quite simple is balance. And I'll tell you the relevance of this on the next slide, but basically proprioception is your body's ability to feed back information, and again that will stop you getting injury, but it will also improve your performance, and testament to that is a guy, you'll be aware of Messi. Craig Messi, what's you getting the difference between Ronaldo, Messi and someone like Giggs?
I mean, I think for me Messi and Ronaldo have taken football to a different level. It's like getting a really good lad at an under-12 playing in a game. You know, he's scoring 50 goals a season, these fellas, Ronaldo and Messi. And now, the way the game is and how professional and how quick everyone is, to do that, I think you've got to be superhuman, or you've got to have something really, really unbelievable about you. And the both of them have. And as Paul says, it could be proprioception, where, you know, they have got fast twitch muscles, what we call fast twitch muscles, so they're very, very quick. They might be lightning over a long distance. I think Ronaldo probably is, but Messi certainly isn't. He's sort of from here to the end of the wall. He'll be as quick as anyone in the world, but after that, he'll probably get caught. But because he is so fast, he's so difficult to mark, and that coupled with his football brain. The difference between him and Giggs, I mean, I think when Giggs was a lot younger, he showed everyone how you could play. I think for me, Giggs, and I'd Paul Scholes into that, have been the best players that we've produced over the last 20, 30 years, without a shadow of a doubt.
When I speak about proprioception, and people talk about Messi, you know, after the Barcelona game against Manchester United, you remember the goals he scored, and you almost couldn't see his leg lifting when he shoots, and that again is to do the feedback. Basically, his brain is working so much quicker and so much faster. And the good news for you is that balance and proprioception can be trained. Obviously, you've got to have a lot of it naturally. And is that the difference between these Premier League players and somebody who's playing in second and third division? Speed?
It's speed of thought more than speed of how they do things. That's the big difference. It's decision making and the speed at which they make the decisions, and that can be trained. There's a big thing going on now about, there's been a big study, and this will apply to the coaches more than it will to the kids, but the study was, why haven't we produced any true world-class footballers over the last, I don't know, 20 years? They sat down and they probably decided that Gaza was probably the last proper world-class footballer we had who actually went to a World Cup and done it. So they started looking at why the African nations coming forward, why are these players playing like they are, and we seem to be getting left behind. And they put a lot of it down to kids in the street now. Kids don't go out and play in the street. They won't go and play on uneven surfaces. They always have to have a goal and a proper pitch. They always have to have the right number of players. Whereas if you look back to someone like Gaza, he'd go out and he'd play with anyone in the street. He'd play with bigger lads, he'd play. He wouldn't have bibs on, so you wouldn't know who was on your team, so you had to make quicker decisions. And a lot of it was to do with street football and the introduction of computers, PlayStations, Xboxes. There's two sides to a brain. One's a digital side and one's an analog side. The digital side comes with playing computer games. and it breaks things down in order. So if a ball is coming to a lad and the digital side of his brain is more developed than the analog side of his brain, he will break it down and he'll say, right, where's that ball coming? How fast is it coming? What am I going to use to control it? How am I going to get it on the floor? Where am I going to pass it to? And it'll do it stage by stage. Whereas if the analog side is more developed, it'll do that all in one go. So it'll see the ball coming, and automatically you'll sort out everything about what you need to do to move the ball on. And because the lads are playing with computer games so much, the digital side of all the brains are bigger than the analog side. So now they're bringing in coaching methods that's trying to change that. It's trying to make kids make more decisions in training. And they do it in various ways. It's different coloured bibs with shapes on, and it's too much to go into, but if you ever get a chance and you're on a computer, have a look at something called a football garage, which explains it far better than what I can, but it's massive and it makes sense if you go into it all.